All right. I was waiting for my phone to charge. Okay. Good Saturday morning, everyone. Oh, I'm not wearing my contact lenses. Let me put them on. In the meantime, I'll open up to a pretty picture. Oh, here's a nice picture. While I wait for some people to come on, at least one, and we're gonna be looking at this book. I better be careful, I don't want this coffee to fall. Oh, no, that's no good. Okay, here is a picture. Will it stay? Okay, this is the book we'll be looking at. I'll be right back. I actually... Anyone there yet? Nobody. All right, well, I'll get started anyway. Someone will come in. So let's start with, I'll try to read a little. I've never heard of this painter before. It's just because of this book that I learned about this painter. And I'm telling you, the days are stretching. I'm a little short on money, number one, so I can't go out there and have as much fun as I could to distract myself. But no, there's plenty to do. It's cold, it's a little cold, it's been rainy. Today I hope it's gonna be sunny. I meet with my aunt for lunch or coffee sometimes, but I really am just waiting to go home. I've got a few more days, so I've been trying to find things to do. So, okay. I'm not really a very highly intellectual person. Many of you may know that. I try to keep the basics. But, so I don't know much about painting and stuff. Now this guy, Pier Paolo Pasolini is the name of this artist. Española. I think he was Spanish. I'm going to read a little more about him. I think he was Spanish. Even though that name is Italian, Pasolini, sounds like a pasta. Okay, poeta, autor, cinematógrafo, artista plástico. Okay, so he was a poet, an author, a cinematographer, and an artist. Artist like artista plástico. I don't know why they call it that, but artista plástico, he does material arts. He does arts with, painting, I guess. I don't know what the plastic arts are, actually. I've heard, oh my goodness, I've gotten warm. Let me open the door because I like this sweater. It's a Halloween time sweater. See, there's a cat on the front. Even though I sometimes wear it and it's not Halloween. I wear it year round, really, but let's open this. I hope, since it is Saturday, we're not going to hear a lot of construction and stuff. And it's only 7:41. We might hear construction around 9. And actually, since it is a Saturday morning, I do have to keep my voice down. Let me know if you have trouble hearing me. But with the balcony open, my voice will echo. Actually, I'm going to close the door in a bit because I don't want to wake people. I forgot. I have to keep soft-spoken. So he was basically a multi-talented gentleman, Paolo Pasolini. He died under tragic circumstances. Pero no extendo. It's a lot. I mean, I could read and translate. Okay, let's try. First, I'll read the first paragraph, just so we have an idea of who this guy is. I've never heard of him. So I'll read it in Spanish first, so that I understand, and then I'll be able to tell you a little bit about the artist, because otherwise I'll just be on here showing you pictures and say, oh, what a pretty picture, you know. I won't really have much to talk about. So the book is basically, you know, a lot of words in the beginning. Oh, but there's a lot of art in there too. But in the beginning, there's a lot of explanation about the guy. But actually, it's mostly pictures. So that's my kind of book. So I'll read it in Spanish. And I'll come up close so I don't have to speak loud. So, poeta, autor, cinematógrafo, artista plástico, las múltiples facetas de la personalidad creativa de Pier Paolo Pasolini. Do you hear that noise? Desaparecido hace ya una década en trágicas circunstancias, se superponen y se mezclan en un conjunto armónico, pero no exento de estridencias sugerentes. These are big words for me. Even in Spanish, it's higher vocabulary than I'm accustomed to. You know, I speak Spanish fluently, but, you know, my level is just conversational and not like highly intellectual level words. So I'm learning some words here myself. But anyway, que exigen del lector espectador una actitud a la vez serena y ágil, receptiva y cómplice. No es preciso subrayar, por otra parte, que la difusión obtenida por sus diversas formas de creación ha sido y sigue siendo muy distinta según el medio concreto elegido por él en cada caso, desde el carácter masivo de alguna de sus películas más célebres. So, you know, he had some very famous, apparently some famous films. So he was a multi-talented artist. He wasn't just a painter and drawing artist. El ámbito lamentablemente más restringido de las ediciones de sus textos o la posibilidad verdaderamente excepcional de contemplar sus dibujos y composiciones pictóricos. I have no idea what it's saying. I have no idea. I understand the words, but I don't understand the concept. So I don't know. But apparently he was a very multi-talented man. And this is a book of just his drawings and paintings, but he did a lot of other things too. I want to know where he was from. They talk a lot about Spain, but they talk about Italy here too. They say, el Instituto de la Cinematografía y las Artes Audiovisuales y la Embajada de Italia, que respectivamente a través de la Filmoteca Española y del Instituto Italiano de Cultura han conseguido reunir en un ciclo de proyectos de la filmografía completa del director. They have his complete filmography through these important institutions. You know, the Italian Embassy, the Institute Cinematographer of Audiovisual Arts, and the Filmoteca Española, like the Spain Film Group, Institute Cultural of Italy. So I don't know if he was Italian or Spanish. He has an Italian name, but he could have been Spanish. He could have been of Italian descent, born in Spain, so we don't know. But I don't see here where he was born. But anyway, he was a European artist. And then there's this long thing. I mean, if you guys want me to read it, let me know. There's all this long stuff to read that I have enough trouble reading in English. And then here, at the end of the reading part, you have well, we have all his pictures, his drawings, and his paintings in the rest of the book. And here it tells you what they are, like the name of the painting, or it gives you the name of the painting and what it is, what year it was, and where it was painted. Actually, yeah, it doesn't say where. Some say where it was painted, but they basically say the name and the date, and in some cases where it was painted. But I see he did a lot of paintings in Italy. Milan, he worked a lot in Milan and Roma. So he might have been Italian. I could Google it, but then I gotta mess up the, if you guys feel like Googling it, find out if Pier Paolo Pasolini was Italian or if he was Spanish. Because it might say it somewhere in here. Let me just look at the beginning of this writing part. Nunca indagué demasiado sobre la psique de cigaña, escribía Pasolini en 1970. Él es ontológico para mí, como yo creo soy ontológico para él. Zigaina, he wrote about some guy named Zigaina. Me conformo con esto y no profundizo más. And I don't know what the word ontological means. He's using really big words. So he's speaking about his, this is Giuseppe Zigaina. Giuseppe Zigaina is the guy who put together this book. Or he's just, no. Giuseppe Zigaina is the man who's writing all this stuff. And apparently he knew the guy or something. I don't know. I can't read it. It's just, it drives me a little nutty to read. I can't read. I mean, I can read, but I can't. It just bothers me. When I see long text, I get phobic, you know, because it's, and especially with all these big words in Spanish that I'm not accustomed to. You know, I speak a conversational level that's, you know, but this is way too much for me. I mean, I could force myself, but so anyway, you guys, that's all I want to know. If he's French or if he's Italian. He sounds, he's a little of both. But anyway, now we'll get to his pictures. That's my favorite part. Okay, so here's some drawings. It starts with drawings and then it goes into paintings. So I think I'll just flip through and not talk too much. It's mostly drawings. I see some paintings here, but okay. So the name of this one. Before I begin also, I want to see, I should mark the page that names the paintings. Here we go. So number 1 painting over here says, Quaderni di Maggio 8. Okay, so he apparently did a book of images, of drawings. So this is his first image. All right, I'll just start showing you. And I'm getting a little chilly now. I have to close the door. It's kind of chilly out. Okay, so here's a drawing. I think if I have an architect or two that follow me. Architects are into drawings. They've got to, they have to know how to draw, obviously. Designers should know how to draw. You don't have to, but it's good to take a basic drawing course to be a designer or an architect. I'm not snapping gum. I'm going to try to keep soft-spoken. So here's an image of a person. Here's another image. If you guys want me to stop and say, oh, what's the name of that image? I love it. I'd like to get a reproduction, something like that, then let me know. Because otherwise, I'm just going to kind of flip through and not say much. I hate this lighting. Let's see. 1 second. So here's another drawing of his. It's of a lady. I could read what it is. Let me turn on some lights. I don't think it's going to help much. I need a ring light, but I don't have one down here. There, I turned on some lights. That might be a little better. It makes me look very old because all the shadows are coming from up there. Let me open that curtain also. That's a little better. It doesn't matter what I look like. You're looking at the pictures anyway. Okay, here's another one of his pictures, of his drawings. This one is called Donna Seduta, like seductive woman. Donna Seduta. That's Italian. It's the name of this drawing. It sounds to me that it means seductive woman. And this painting, this drawing, this one is called, I wish I could see upside down. That one's called, also Donna Seduta. I guess he did a series of seductive women. So this is also a seductive woman, image 3, seductive woman, image 4. You know how that's how they do. Many times artists get into an obsessive mentality of one thing, or obsessive. You know, artists are known to be very passionate people. So they might get obsessed with maybe, for example, an artist saw a woman walking down the street and it was just a flash in his mind. And then he's got that image in his head and he goes home and I'm imagining myself, you know, a scenario which may or may not be true. But then he's got that image of the woman in his head and he went home and he did one drawing, he did another. Or maybe he got a model to come and he, you know, said pose like this, pose like that, which is probably more of a realistic. So let's see what this one is called. Probably the same. Yeah, Donna Seduta 4. That doesn't, I mean, seductive maybe by those standards of those days, because that doesn't, 1941. Okay, so in 1941, this was considered a seductive woman. And look at her, she's all covered up. She's showing her ankles. She's showing the bottom of her leg. But seductive maybe in her pose. You know, it doesn't have to be that she's showing everything. You can be seductive, very subtly seductive, where it's not overt, you know. Seductive is actually, even the word seductive, it's not overtly sexual, it's seductive. You know, oh, there's something of interest to look over there. This one is called Giovanni ci scrive. So Giovanni writing. So I guess a friend of his was writing. I'm making stuff up, you guys. If you really want to, you know, let me know in the chat. Oh, could you look at the information for that picture? And then I'll flip over to this page. And over here it explains what each one is. So for example, this one, that's a big book. Number 5. So then I go to number 5 here. Las opiniones valaderas en cuaderno romanzo, número 3, página 9. So yeah, he had several books of sketches. These are sketches and drawings. And so they tell you what it's from. So they're not all from the same sketchbook. They're I guess randomly picked, or not randomly, but they were curated for the book. So they're from all different books of his. Because artists will have books and books and books of sketches. I had an artist friend who passed away, and he left behind all his art. His house was basically all his artwork and like a little space to walk. But it was, you know, he was not a famous artist. He was a very, what's the word? Prolific artist. He made a lot of art, but he didn't sell much. And, you know, he died broke and poor, and, you know, like most artists, starving artists, some get lucky after death. Van Gogh was one of those that during life he was struggling, he was poor, he was depressed, nobody noticed him, and then after he passed away, he became famous. So, okay, here we go, next one. This one is called Uomo Celeje, man who reads. You know, if you speak Spanish, you can kind of understand Italian. The words are similar. The structure of the language is the same. Portuguese as well. Portuguese is a little harder. So this one says, uomo celeje. Celeje means man reading. Who knows how he saw it? Maybe he saw this man, you know, out in public having a drink reading, or, you know, these are just people he would see in his daily life. This one is called Ritratto d'uomo, a portrait of a man. You see the names, because if you have to name, these are just probably sketches he did in 5-10 minutes, quick, do another page, quick, you know. So if you're going to name each one some special name, it gets very cumbersome. So it'll be like man, what was this one again? Portrait of a Man 1, Portrait of a Man 2, Portrait of a Man 3. Those will be many of the names until you get an artwork, like a masterpiece. Then that's called a name, like a real name. This one is called Ritratto di Susanna Pasolini, Portrait of Susanna Pasolini. I don't know if that would be his wife or his... Let's look that one up. I am curious about that one. Number 8. Number 8. Should put a bookmark on that page. Here we go. Number 8. It's from Pier Paolo Pasolini, Empirismo Eretico, Heretical Empirism. Was made in Milan in 1977, but it doesn't, you know, on the page it was from, it doesn't say if it's his wife. It seems like it would be his wife, because it's not a young lady from the picture. It looks like an older woman, so that might be either his mother or his wife. But it is Susanna Pasolini, so I'm going to safely assume it's a relative. Okay, here's one. I wonder if that's also Susanna Pasolini. Let's have a look. It's hard to do. Let me see if I can do it without having to flip the book every time. This one is called Ragazza. Madeleine Jeune Fille. Oh, okay. They got it in all the different languages, see? It's in all the languages. I was just reading the top. It means a girl, a young girl. Jeune fille is a girl. You know, a young girl, but young in the sense she's more like a teenager. So a girl. Yeah, she actually, well, no, I don't know what age. You can't really tell. I like that one a lot. I guess she would be like a teenage girl. She doesn't look young. Okay, this one is called Il Pediluvio, which in English, the foot bath. I'm cheating now. I just now realized that it's in English there. The foot bath. So someone bathing their feet. 0 people? Oh, 6. Okay. I was looking from on the top. It looked like 0. All right. The foot bath. This one is called, I think I could read it this way. Boy sitting. Boy sitting. You know, very practical names. And then if he would have done another drawing of another boy sitting, he would call it boy sitting 2, boy sitting 3. So they're just curating. I'm sure he has a whole sketchbook of boy sittings. But whoever put together this book, it seems like it was put together by many institutions, you know, in honor of this artist. This one is called, I'm going to cheat and go to the English, 1941. This one is called Billiard Players. Yeah, you can see that. Billiard players, or pool. Billiard is pool, or similar. It may be different, but billiard is similar to pool. snooker, they call it, is another game. Snooker is not pool or billiards. Billiards and pool might be the same, I don't know. Snooker is it called? Over in England they play that. It's a different kind of pool. It's like pool, but it's different. Andy Capp, remember there was a comic strip, Andy Capp. He used to play snooker. I remember, that's where I remember hearing it for the first time. Boy reading. Here's a boy reading. Okay, I'm getting the hang of it now. This one is called On a Divan. On a Divan. So yes, somebody's laying on a divan. Let me have a look at it. I can't see it. I can't tell even if it's a woman or a man, but it's someone laying down. You know, sketches are they're not detailed. So you sometimes have to read into it visually. But it looks to me to be I can't tell if it's a man or a woman. I'm gonna guess it's a woman. I can barely see where the body is. I see the head here. Here's an arm. But you know, I don't know why people, I mean, yeah, I guess sketching must be hard. I know I can't do it very well. Woman sitting, I'm gonna guess it's called woman sitting, but let me look. Boy reading. Oh, another boy reading. Wait, let me compare the two boy readings. See? We had here's a boy reading also. Completely different. He must have hired models to come and he would, because here's boy reading. Here's a boy reading. Just he's sitting on the floor reading. And then here's another boy reading. He's sitting in a chair reading. And I'm gonna look now and see if they're from the same sketchbook. Because then here in this part, they're labeling what sketchbooks they're from. Let me get something to mark that page because I gotta keep flipping back to it. Number 15. Pasión e ideología. Oh no, completely different because then that was 15 and this was 13. No, they were made completely different. The sketch on number 13 was made in Milan in 1982 from a sketchbook called Amado Mio. And the other one is from another sketchbook called Pasión e Ideología, Passion and Ideology, from 1973. So completely different time periods. They're not related at all. But you see, let's look at wait, this is from 1941? Well, then why does it say, oh, maybe the date, okay, hang on a sec. No, wrong again, I was wrong. See how I don't know what I'm talking about, so don't take what I say with a grain of salt. So he did go through a phase of boy readings, I guess, because this one's from 1941. The dates on the beginning of the book are the dates they were published, maybe. I don't know. Dates on where they were published, where they were taken. So I'm going to not even go. So this one is from 1941, boy reading. And then 2 pages later, it's from 1942, boy reading. It's another one, but he might have gone through a phase where he's doing, you know how Picasso had his blue phase, then he had his cubism phase, you know. So artists go through phases, and it generally depends on what's going on in their head, you know. They're very passionate people. Well, everyone, whether you realize it or not, what's in your brain comes out somehow. It could come out through violence. You know, for example, some artists are extremely depressive people. And if they didn't paint or sing or create music or whatever they do, it could harm them internally. You have to let out, you have to express. And so this is, in a sense, freedom of speech, expressing yourself through art. And some art is controversial too, but you have to be able to express yourself somehow through words, through art, through sports, you know, if that's where you're meant to, but you have to let out what your nature is and be allowed to. And as long as it's not harmful, you know, because like I said, if you don't, it comes out elsewhere and it could be very, very detrimental to yourself or to society. They say Hitler was an extremely frustrated artist and actor. He failed at every, you know, he failed. And then, you know, it came out in the way it came out. So whatever you feel like doing, if that's you and you're not harming anyone else, that's the only caveat. I think that's the right term. Then just do it, you know. Drag queens, for example. If a man, maybe he's not transgender, sometimes they're not, but he feels like dressing like a woman and going out and expressing himself that way, then do it. You know, and yeah, and well, depends in what part of the world you are. You could get killed in some parts of the world, but you have to let people be who they are as long as they're not harming anyone else. So, okay, what's this? You know, the artwork that it takes to go into drag, for example, that's art. That's the makeup, the hair, the fashion is art. Okay, here's an interesting one. Looks like a pregnant woman, but let's see. This is called, it was in 1942. I can't see it. Oh, Woman with a Lantern. Donna, I'll say the Italian one. They have it in every language except Spanish. They have Donna col lampione, which I'm glad it's in English because I wouldn't have been able to understand what that said. I mean, you could kind of guess because, see, I know Spanish, like even if it didn't have it in English, I know Spanish, so the words are kind of similar. And then if I look at the picture, maybe I would have been able to figure it out. What lampione, see how you can learn a language? Lampione, it means lamp in Italian. I now have learned. See how you learn without even trying sometimes? Lampione. Femme, what's it called? Donna. Donna means lady or woman in Italian. Col lampione, woman with lantern. This one is called Woman with Frog. I don't see the frog, do you? I'm going to flip it around and look at it closer. I'm getting warm again. I don't see the frog unless it's at the very end there. It's at the end of the stick maybe, but it's just like a little scribble. Sketches are sometimes hard to interpret. 1 second, I'm going to go. I don't want it to flip over and hit my coffee. Oh my goodness, hang on. I don't know when those land. Let me refill my coffee. Put a little, but it's cold now, so the coffee's cold. I get warm, I open, it's chilly out, but it's hot in here, so I'm gonna flip this around and look at it because I can't see it well when it's, okay, I see the frog. It's at the end there, but yeah, it kind of looks like a frog. Now, I don't know what she's doing naked in the middle of a meadow, but all right, next one is another woman with a frog. Another woman with a frog. She's poking the poor thing with a stick. Why doesn't she just pick it up? I'm judging her. This poor woman from 1941. She was the model. 1942, this one. So apparently he was very prolific in the 40s, the 1940s. Was that the industrial age? No, I think it was after. Woman who looks like a frog. No, just kidding. This one is Woman Among Reeds. So probably, this is also 1942. Are they all 1942? Woman with Lantern. Yeah, these are all Woman with Frog. They're all 1942. And then here he has some writing on the sketch. I don't know if he's naming it himself. Let me see if I can figure out the writing on the sketch. Cono del Donna nel caneto. Yeah, it's just Donna nel caneto. It says woman among reeds, and the writing on the painting is exactly what it says. Donna nel caneto. So he named his own. I'm just starting to notice that he wrote the names right on them, and he put the year as well. So that was easy to keep track of. That's what you must do if you're an artist. Everything you make, put the date, and if you want to put a name on it. Otherwise, after you're long gone and your stuff is discovered and put in a museum, you died broke and hungry and all that, but you're still like Van Gogh. You'll be discovered and suddenly, oh, what an amazing artist, and they'll put you in a museum. And if you don't put the title of your work, they're just going to say portrait 1, portrait 2, you know. Donna nel caneto. Okay, this one is uomo nel caneto. This is a man in the, oh my goodness. We're all adults here. You can't see anything, but it's a man in the reeds, and he's all out there. And here are the reeds. I wonder if he got people to pose for him. He must have. Usually, oops, I gotta keep my voice down. Usually people, usually you would have people posing, I guess. Okay, here we're starting with a little color now. There's oh good, we're starting to get a little color. Okay, so this one is called Bersagliere, 1942. Look how it's all the same language. Bersagliere 4 times. All right. I don't know what that is. I just see a red splotch. So I'd have to analyze it more. I gotta watch the time. It's okay. At 11, I have to meet my aunt again. Oh, young Bersagliere. Bersaglieri. I don't know what a Bersaglieri is. Ritratto Bersaglieri. Okay. All right, here we go. Sorry. Bersaglieri. I don't know what that means. But there are these men with tassels coming out of their hats. And this next one is also Bersaglieri. Let me look back at this one. Yeah, they're men with tassels coming out of their hats. So maybe it's a type of, it's a culture. He did this one on on the back of a piece of ripped paper. Isn't that interesting? You see, artists will create, like he might be in the middle of somewhere and he has that impulse to create and it has to come out. So it looks here he had nothing available maybe, and he grabbed a piece of something with something typewritten on it, and he flipped it onto the back. But of course, when you see it, you see the writing in the back. I wonder if I mean, I couldn't even understand it if it's in Italian, but I bet you could even try to read what's back there. Here's another Bersaglieri. Portrait of a Bersaglieri. I want to know what it is. I'm going to Google it. I hate doing it while you guys are on. But when I Google, because you guys are going to get cut off for a little bit, but then I'll come back. So I'm sorry about that. But I've got to know what a Bersaglieri is. It's driving me. I couldn't find it. And I was getting a restaurant called Bersaglieri Restaurant here in Buenos Aires. So you guys look it up on your own if you're curious. I will look it up later, but I don't want to mess up the... You see, I lost people because people were watching and I did that and then people stopped watching, so... Okay, next one is called La Letra. So somebody's writing a letter. La Letra. No chatters this morning. Mystery viewers. Okay, this one is called Ragazzo, boy. Oh, ragazzo means boy in Italian. The picture or painting. These are not sketches anymore. They're, I don't know what he's using, what media he's using. It doesn't say what media is being used, even on the part that explains about the painting. This is probably boy 2, boy 3, boy. Yeah, ritratto, portrait of a boy. Probably portrait of a boy again. Figure, man sitting in bed. Oh, a man is sitting in bed. Yeah, I can see that. That looks more like a India ink or watercolor, brown watercolor, but I doubt it's watercolor. India ink, probably what he's using. Because it's no longer a sketch. And that year, 1943. So we're getting later. I wonder if this is chronological, that we could see his development as an artist. And he was also, again, he was a cinematographer, he was a poet, he did a lot of stuff. Very prolific, creative. He was a creative. This noon in the... I can't see that far. Noon in the Meadow. Noon in the Meadow? 1942. I don't... Maybe they meant to say meadow. Noon in the Meadow. Here's a sketch. I don't really understand what that is. This one's called The House in Ruins. The House in Ruins. Okay. Yeah, I see the house falling down. This is the house in ruins. It appears to me. Or is it that one? The House in Ruins. This one's called Landscape. It's a landscape. It's a nice building. A barn, maybe? From 1943. This one's also from 1943. It's a landscape. Casarsa landscape. Casarsa landscape. My hair's a little... I washed it and I didn't do much with it after. Cow. This is a cow. A sketch. And sometimes you can see that the sketch was made with just one line. They never picked up the pen. I don't know if this is one of those. Let me have a quick look. No, it's not. It's not one continuous line. There are parts where it is, but there are cut-off lines. So he just kind of... Isn't that amazing how you can scribble and you just know where the darkness and the lightness, you know, it's very black and white sketches. And so you've got to make sure that the shadows and the white parts are defined enough that you can make out what it is. Because if you don't do it right, it just looks like a scribble. It looks easy to sketch. When you watch someone who knows how to do it well, it looks so easy. They're just like scribbling, you think. But it's not. It's not. You have to know exactly where you know. His nostril here, how he makes it darker at the top, so that it looks like it's hollowed in. And then the lighter part so that it comes out where the white is. So his nostril gets more as defined as possible in a sketch. Darker on the top where the shadow would be, and then at the bottom where it's coming out, so that it looks more three-dimensional. I know a little about it. I took a drawing class, so I learned that stuff. Figure of a woman. Figure of a woman. 1943. These are all from 1943. This is also Portrait of a Woman. I don't understand what makes good art and what makes bad art. I really don't. It looks good enough to me, you know, but I don't know what makes it. Maybe it's the fame of the artist and what message people have perceived coming out of that artist. Girl from San Vito. San Vito. He sounds Italian. I'm thinking this guy's Italian. He might have spent a lot of time in Spain. This is Two Boys. Again, in the chat, if you want me to go into more detail or want to ask any questions, let me know. This one is called, this is from 1943, Portrait of a Young Man. That's easy to see. This one is Saint Sebastian. Saint Sebastian. 1943. Also, this is Saint Stephen. I didn't know there was a Saint Stephen. Really? I didn't know that. Actually, I don't know all the saints. There's probably a lot of saints I don't know. Patio? P-U-T-T-O. I'll leave it at that. I guess it means someone who plays an instrument. Portrait of a boy. Another portrait of a boy. Here we have a boy sitting. I can't see it. If I go on this side, it's hard to read upside down. And my accordion player. Accordion player. A bandoneon is also another, I don't know if it's the same instrument, but it's this one. I bet it's called man fishing or man sitting. Let's see. Man with a twig. Okay. It looked like he was fishing. Man with a twig. Oh, why don't I do it this way? This will make it easier. Oh no, because then you can't see. All right. This one is called Nude Man. I don't see anything. I think it's still G-rated. Man sitting. figure of a woman. Figure of a woman. It's hard to tell if it's a woman or a man. I guess it's a woman with her hair up in a bun, you know, because she's got short hair. Or, you know, you don't see hair. Usually, well, a woman is defined in these sketches generally by the shape of her body and by her hair. So I wouldn't know if that were a woman or a man if I didn't know the title. And who knows, because he didn't write in here. I mean, maybe he told someone it was a woman, because the title is not written on this either. That's like a sketch of a still life. That one's called, it's a cumbersome book. Big Roses and Small Roses. Okay, makes sense. Big roses and small roses in the English translation. Still got a ways to go here. This one is called Portrait of Grandmother Dead. Portrait of a Grandmother Dead, or Portrait of a Dead Grandmother. And again, look at that. The writing. It looks like he grabbed some old scrap piece of paper and wrote on the back. And then it's see-through. Let me look if the writing is backwards. Because it would be yeah, it's backwards writing. And upside down. Yeah, he's probably like whatever, felt like drawing something, grabbed a scrap piece of paper that he could find. You know, he was running low on materials. You can't stop an artist. If he wouldn't have had paper, he would have found a twig and some charcoal from the barbecue. You know, he would have found a way. When an artist has to create, he just creates. You can't stop him. Anything you're meant to do, you're going to do. And if you don't, again, it's going to be negative to you. You have to do it. You have to do what God or nature or whatever you believe in draws you to do creatively. Or in business, or whatever your calling is. I never follow my callings, and that's probably why I'm not always happy, you know. And my callings are all over the place. Don't take me as an example. I'm trying to apply it to myself, and it doesn't make any sense in my case. Take everything I say with a grain of salt. Okay, this one is Woman with a Mirror. I don't see the mirror, but she must have it there. Maybe the mirror has faded into the sketch. It hasn't been defined as well, but she's apparently a woman looking in a mirror. Woman grooming herself. Yeah, putting up her hair, brushing, washing up. It's a lot of sketches. I'm getting kind of bored of the sketches. I might just skip. Portrait of Franca Naldini. Franca Naldini, I guess it's a friend of his. Portrait of Franca Naldini, because she actually has a name. Franca Naldini, here it even says on the picture. Woman sleeping. Woman sleeping. Portrait of Giovanni Bemporad, I guess a friend of his. It's a portrait of I'm going to call it a friend, a portrait of someone whose name is that name. Okay, here's a painting. This is called Flowers, 1944. So then he started painting, 1944. Maybe he painted before, but up until now, it was 1941, 1942, it was mainly sketches. Let me get a sip of my coffee. 1 second. Oh, it's a long book. Okay. Tonuti with picture. Tonuti maybe is the name of this person. Tonuti. Sounds like Tony. So if I have to bet, I'm going to bet that the gentleman was Italian. 1945, Tonuti with picture. Again, that's Tonuti. I guess Tonuti is like it even sounds like a nickname for someone named Tony. They call him Tonuti like as a little nickname. This is boy sitting, another boy sitting. He looks tired. He's kind of slouched there in his chair. I might take a break in a minute. It's kind of hard doing this. It's a heavy book and my back is about halfway through. Not bad. I could go a little quicker. Let me read this one. Portrait of a Boy. Again, another portrait of a boy. See how farther away it's more defined, and up close it's harder to make out. It's back here. Portrait of a boy. Okay, after this painting, I'm going to take a little quick break, maybe make another coffee. Landscape at the Tagliamento. Landscape at the Tagliamento. 1943. It's a landscape. Okay, I'm gonna leave this here. I just have to stretch a little. It's getting hard to hold this heavy book, and the way I'm sitting, I could maybe get a better situation. All right, thank you for waiting. I'll try not to bore you guys too much with my break. So that's a landscape. And now we're getting into the paintings. This is another landscape, 1943 landscape. So, you know, there was a period where he was into landscapes and he was painting landscapes. That boy sitting, what year was that? The latest boy sitting. Because apparently this book is in chronological. Oh, 1945. It's not exactly chronological. Yeah, these boy sittings from the last few pages, they're from 1945. And then the paintings, he did a lot of painting, at least according in this book, 1944, 1945 as well. 1944. 1943, these are landscapes from, no, it's not in chronological order. Okay, Church in Cassara, 1943. Church in Cassara. It's in 1943. Young man with flower. Young man with flower. I have 3 mystery viewers this morning. This is the one that I used for the thumbnail. It's called Self-Portrait with Old Scarf. So this is an actual self-portrait of the artist from 1946 with his scarf. Was he a dark man? I mean, he sounds Italian, so he could have been from southern Italy, where the people are dark. Because, you know, we're closer to, I say we, because I'm of Italian descent. I'm from ancestors were from northern Italy. But the ones from southern Italy are closer to Morocco, you know, Africa. So maybe he was, I don't know. At least in this portrait, he's painted himself brown. So, with a scarf. Yeah, I see that. There's a flower over here. Maybe this is also another self-portrait. Okay, so he was apparently, you know, a darker Italian, or, you know, 1947 self-portrait. Young man washing himself with one of those bowls that they used to use. 1947. So he's into some more paintings here. 1947, woman with blue flower. Woman with blue flower. I'm going to flip this around and look at it. I don't see the woman's head unless she's hiding under some kind of cape. She's got a blue flower like right between her legs. Yeah, she's got some sort of cape on. Maybe she was a showgirl. She looks like a showgirl, like, or something. I don't see the woman there at all. But it's a woman with a blue flower, and look where the blue flower is. So I would have to know more about. I'm going to look up. Let me look this one up in the front and see what more information we have on it. That's number 67. Pasolini, Amado Mio. I don't know. Because then it says op sit, and I forget what that means. I know ibid means the one just before. Ibid means the reference is the one just before it in the list. But op sit, I forget what that means. If anybody knows, go ahead and say it. So anyway, woman with a blue flower. Paolo. Paolo. Maybe that's his son? Because his name is Pier Paolo, but it would say autorretrato, it would say self-portrait if it were him. So maybe that's a son or some Paolo, some kid named Paolo. This is named Houses in Casara. So apparently he lived in a place called Casara. Houses in Casara. (1947) Narcissus, looking at himself. And Narcissus, if you don't know the story of Narcissus, he was so in love with himself, because he was a narcissist, that he saw his image in the lake, in the water, and was so in love and enamored with himself that he died, because he died of hunger and thirst, because all he did was look at himself. So there's that. 1966, I was born that year. Now you know how old I am. Train stopped by rain. Okay, because there was so much rain, they had to stop the train. 1966. Look how his style has changed. This is a sketch in color. It almost looks like a children, and it's not. Obviously, you have to know what you're doing to draw a sketch like this, but it almost looks like a child's drawing. That's why sketching has always seemed, oh, I gotta keep my voice down, seemed to be easy, but it's not. This is 1967. Laura and Ninetto. Laura and Ninetto. There are two people there. Two people? Unless I don't know. Oh yeah, it's two people. It's a curly-haired man curly-haired man and a woman. They appear to be, I feel it's suggesting that they're in love. Even you see this thing here that kind of looks like a heart. So I think, yeah, look at all these little, they also could be blood splatter, you know, but it's like, you can really read into that. It's like blood splatter, but it's also hearts, to show how love can be so deadly, but at the same time so beautiful and red, and you can interpret it how you want. But yeah, I see two people. There's a curly-haired man here, which at first I couldn't tell, but it's you see, these are his eyes and a nose, and it's not very defined. Then here's the woman, and they're hugging, and then there's this blood splatter hearts, is how I'm interpreting it. You interpret it, of course, how you, and the artist may have been trying to send another message, but you get the message as you get it. This one is called Portrait of Ninetto Davoli. Okay, it's same guy from the previous. So this is Ninetto, their friend, his friend. I'm gonna call it his friend, someone he knew. And here's Ninetto again with his curly hair. He has curly hair. So that's a portrait of that guy. 1965, this is Portrait of Franco Citi. That's a portrait of some other person. 1965. 1967, Laura with friends one evening. So Laura was out with her friends one evening. They went to a little place to have some drinks. And Laura is Ninetto's wife, isn't it? I mean, isn't that Laura from that picture with the blood spatter? We have insight into their whole, yeah, it's Laura and Ninetto. There's a love story here. 1967, 65, you know, in those years, Laura's out with friends one evening. Group sitting. Now here's a group of people sitting. A group of people sitting. And who knows, maybe Laura and Ninetto were a couple of friends that came to visit him. And while they were there for a few days, he did a few little paintings of them. You know, it could be as simple as that. It doesn't mean, but at least that's what I do. I start to imagine the artist in that moment. What was he thinking when he painted that? What was happening in his life, you know? Group sitting. Okay, this one is Sandbanks Under Gray Sky. But that's interesting because it could be anything. Sandbanks under gray sky. I mean, when you're told that's what it is, you see it. Sand, that's the gray sky, the sand, I don't know, you can kind of see it if you force yourself, but yeah, that one's not really thrilling. It's just kind of very bland. I wouldn't have to, I think maybe there's a little water there, but Sandbank under gray sky. Again, you know, maybe he was depressed in this period. 1969, okay? See, this is 1969. It's another year. His mind was different that year. So he, whatever's inspiring him changes. So now he's into these gray, sad, you know, sandbanks under gray sky. There's no life, or at least you don't see any life here. Of course, in the sandbanks, there may be little crabs and bugs and stuff, but in gray skies, you know, maybe he was depressed during this period. I don't know. Probably it's explained all in the beginning that I didn't read. It may be saying, oh, in the 1960s, he fell into a deep depression, and you can see in his artwork that it would, I'm making stuff up, but But you look into Picasso and all his different periods. He's a more well-known artist that you could use as a reference for what I'm talking about. Here, Portrait of Maria Callas. She was a famous opera singer who actually had the affair. Aristotle Onassis was deeply in love with Maria Callas. He ended up marrying Jackie Onassis, Jackie Kennedy, who was widowed from the president. But his true love was Maria Callas. But, he was very wealthy, but he had to select a wife adequate for his, and what would help him get places. Jacqueline O'Kennedy came from a very, very wealthy family. She had pedigree. I believe Maria Callas didn't have that. In those days, even today, but more so back then, the rich had to be very careful who they married, and you still do today, like I said. So he had an affair with Maria Callas, but she was the one who he truly loved. 1969. Anyway, the artist painted her. He had nothing to do, but I'm talking about Aristotle Onassis. That's a separate story, but here. Portrait of Maria Callas, another one of Maria Callas. Let me have a look. Portrait of Maria Callas, but 1969, he must have been really depressed that year, because these are sad. These are making me sad. You don't even see her. Where is she? It's a portrait of Maria Callas. Where is she? Maybe he was friends with her. If he's doing portraits of her, maybe she was visiting him. They were friends. They were talking. I really should read the beginning part. I'm going to skim through it later. Is there more Maria Callas? Portrait of Maria Callas. Look at that. Maybe because she was the mistress of Aristotle Onassis, maybe she confided in him. Look, I'm so depressed. Aristotle treats me like a second-class citizen. He's with his wife, but he truly loves me. Who knows what she confided in him. And, because she's almost disappeared. She's almost hidden, like a mistress is hidden. You see? 1969. Is she here again? Here she is again. Portrait of Maria Callas. Hidden. She's like invisible. She's the mistress that's the true love of Aristotle Onassis. This is me interpreting it from what I know. She's hidden. She's there, but she's hidden. Where is she? I don't see her. But that's a portrait of Maria Callas. Here she is again, I bet. Oh, he really got into this. And it was all 1970. Here we are, 1970. Let me have a look at this. How many more Maria Callas do we have? And it's a portrait of her various times. She wore her hair in a bun. Here she is again. Oh, he did a lot of these. You know what? I'm going to read the beginning. Okay, it ends there. I don't know who Giuseppe Zigaina is. Giuseppe Zigaina wrote the introduction to this book. Giuseppe Zigaina. Sorry, I'll show you in a minute. So he did several of these. Portrait of Maria Callas. I'll flip through them quickly because they're all kind of the same. Where she's invisible. There's six portraits of Maria Callas on the same, or 8. See 8 there. Here's another one, Maria Callas. And now he's doing portraits of her, but several separate. And it's very invisible, and you can't see it. Maybe she was doing the different facets of her. I don't know. I don't know what he was thinking. And here we are, another one. Portrait of Maria Callas. Where is she? She's in a mess of... She's hidden, like the mistress. Okay, and then it ends there. And one more. Portrait of Maria Callas. She's disappearing. She's like, see how what I'm reading into this, and I'm making it up, They were friends. She was telling him how miserable she was as the mistress, how she was hidden, how she had to be invisible. It's not an easy life being a mistress. And then we got Giuseppe. I want to look in the beginning of the book and see if there's anything. I'll skim through and see if it says anything about if he was friends with her and what that's all about. Let me see. Pier Pasolini. I'll tell you in a minute. 1499. Yeah, he is going through the chronology. En auténtica declaración de poética encontramos anticipado y resumido todos los conceptos ideales artísticos de Pasolini. El ansia por lo nuevo, originada por la forma de necesidad, la voluntad Yeah, it is interesting. It's in Spanish, so it would be very tedious for you all, for me to, first of all, I'm a slow reader, and then to translate. But it's basically here, for example, it's giving six of his influences, 6 of the things that influenced his art, like in this section, written by this friend of his. But I want to see if there's anything in there about Maria Callas. It would just be too much for me. So anyway, you all on your own, if you're curious, you could, of course, Google him. Oh, I lost my page. It was the Maria Callas series. Here we go. We're getting towards the end. Look how far along we are. And then I probably may or may not do a ramble. If anybody starts chatting, see, this is how much we've gotten through and this is how much is left. So these are the Maria Callas series. We did those. And then here, Portrait of Giuseppe Zagaina. Giuseppe Zagaina. Is my voice getting too loud? I forgot. Let me close that door again because I'm getting a little chilly. I'll just apoyar. The curtain. It's getting lighter out. I think the sun's coming out. Yay, it's not going to rain today. It's been raining for 3 days down here. Raining or very drab. This one is Lamps on Saffron, 1970. Lamps on Saffron. 1970, Poles and Nets on Saffron. I don't know what saffron is. It's with a capital, S-A-F-O-N, written with a capital letter. So maybe it's a landmark or something. This one's actually quite beautiful. I like this one. Poles on Saffron. Something about this one makes me want to see. I've got this artwork in the back. It's been there. My aunt's art, she got it from, I think friends of hers wrote those. Friend of hers painted those. My aunt lived in this apartment until she passed away. So all her stuff is still here. And just leave it, it's set up. It's my mother's apartment, but she let her cousin live in it. This one is Portrait of Andres Soto from 1974. So we're getting later on now. This one is 1974 as well. Portrait of same guy, Andres Soto. Let's compare the two. So there's this guy, Andres Soto, just kind of in a blue, looks like a rolling ballpoint pen, I'm guessing. It doesn't say, what, about this book, it doesn't say what media was used. It doesn't say it here, and it doesn't say it in the front part either. But it looks to me like this was done with a blue ballpoint pen on something. They didn't, not now, when he first started out, 1940s, ballpoint pen probably didn't exist. So when it was invented, he said, hey, I'm gonna try it with this new media form. You know, a ballpoint pen to a writer is for writing, but to an artist, it's for drawing. Portrait of the same guy, Andre, yeah, same profile. It's actually like exactly the same. No, it's not. It's different. Okay. Looks like the same guy. Yep, same guy. Andre Zanzotto, 74. He's got them all messed up. Like I don't know. Well, yeah, it's just like make it dark, but then darker. This looks like a watercolor. Because India ink is black, isn't it? So I'd like to know what he used, and the book doesn't say what's used. That's frustrating, because that does interest me. But some kind of brown watercolor, maybe. I can't say. This one is An Evening in Chia, capitals. Capital. An Evening in Chia. It looks like a little kid hiding there. I'm gonna look at this closer. Chia is probably the name of a city or something. We've got this man with curly hair. An Evening in Chia. I mean, I can see a table of people with some kind of, it looks like there are people with pictures sitting at a table. That's what I see on the big side. And then you've got this person peering in, like spying on them or just observing them. See here, I see like a party of people sitting around a table and eating, and then somebody peeking at them. So, yeah, that's his interpretation of An Evening in Chia. It doesn't have to make sense to us. It makes sense to him. This one is, you know, maybe I don't know, maybe he had curly hair. I don't know what he looked like. I want to know who this is supposed to be, this curly-haired guy. We got the curly-haired guy that, you know, a few back. I forget his name already. Maybe he was just having fun. You know, it doesn't have to mean something deep. Maybe he was just having fun. He said, I'm going to draw this. Sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. That's from Freud. You know, you don't always have to interpret dreams, for example. You know, Freud might interpret, or psychologists will give you all these interpretations in your dream. And maybe sometimes a cigar is just a cigar. Maybe it doesn't have any deeper meaning than that, for example. All right, 1975, Portrait of Roberto Longhi. He was quite, and he's got that Roman nose. I'm thinking this guy was Italian. $1975, same guy. Roberto Longini, he's got this Italian name. Self-portrait. Okay, this is a self-portrait, so we get to see, he doesn't have curly hair. And he doesn't look any color here, but that doesn't mean anything because it's a sketch, so you can only have dark and light and maybe shades, but he made this very black and white. You know, there's no shading or very little shading, so you work with what you can. So you can't really put race, like even if you do an Asian person, you would put their eyes you know, the shape of the, you know, with the head, with the, I guess they have an extra lid. Oh, somebody just reposted a video. I get a message every time something happens. A friend of mine on TikTok reposted a video. Okay. But his hair is apparently straight. So he wouldn't have been, he might have been darker skin, like darker skin Italian, a dark Caucasian is what Italians are, the ones that I'm referring to. And I'm saying maybe, because I could be wrong about every single thing I've said on here. Because I'm just kind of... Okay, another self-portrait. He wore glasses, we know that. At least later in life. He's got his beard growing in this one. Big nose. He might have had a Roman nose as well. Another self-portrait, I'm going to guess. Yeah, another self-portrait. Yeah, but you see him aging. I'm going to look at the self-portraits when I finish the book and compare them with these self-portraits. Another one. Now he's getting just to his main features. Big jawline, you know, a very defined jaw. Of course, he probably wanted to paint himself. Well, no. I mean, you got to do a self-portrait is difficult because you got to be completely honest with yourself. Every little flaw that you have or whatever. Here he is again with his beard. You could see his 5 o'clock shadow. It's not a full beard. He just got it from the side. Yeah, like this lighting. I see every little flaw in my face. I've become accustomed to it now. But it's hard. It's hard accepting that you're aging. In our culture. There are cultures where age is celebrated. You know, the older you are, the more respect you get. But in our American culture, and you know, we should respect the elder. We were told respect the, but we really deep down we respect them in as much as we have to take care of them, all that. But as far as, you know, there's ageism. There's ageism in Western culture, and you know, depending where you live. Like it certainly will be worse in Miami, where youth is celebrated. You know, if you're over 30, you're old. In Miami, in some parts of Argentina, you know, in metropolitan cities. Another self-portrait. He's got a little color in there. Maybe he was less depressed here. 1965. Okay. No, I can certainly see that there's a part in his life where this man got kind of sad and depressed. This wasn't the time, though. He looks a little happier here. See, now let's see his self-portrait. See, I am going to compare them. He looks content in this one, 1965. 1965, he looks content. Yeah, these are all from 1965. These are interesting. 54, he's got a... He's not depressed in this era. But the Maria Callas, when was those years? When were those years? When was those years? Oh, I don't know. I'm getting too into it. I might have to do it on my own. And I might actually read more about the guy. It's easier for me to Google and find things on the internet than it is for me to read a book, because the internet, I can get little clips to answer my questions, and then I end up putting it all together. So that's why. So I could say, for example, instead of reading this whole thing, I could say, was Pier Paolo Pasolini depressed at some point in his life? For example, that could ask that question. And then you can find and make sure you know the source of the information, of course. I don't trust AI. I want to find the source. AI is good for like a quick overview, but check, because AI is just getting the information that other people are putting into the internet. And it's getting so if people are putting misinformation into the internet, the AI is just going to spit out the misinformation, which is why you got to go to the actual source. This would be one source because it's from a book that was written by has an introduction by a friend or by someone who knew him. You know, those kind of sources. The world no longer wants me and doesn't know it. Look at this. What could this be? Oh, and there's no year on it even. The world no longer wants me and doesn't know it. Now that sounds depressing, because that's a depressing title. And then that's the name of this sketch. The world no longer wants me and doesn't know it. And I'd like to know what year this was written, but this was done. But there's no year. So who knows? I think he had and many artists do have a little depressive tendency. Is there a year there? No, can't really see it. That's the end. And then there's all this writing. Oh, look at the back. Oh, we can. Wait a minute. In the back, there's more explanation. Oh, here's the chronology of his biography. Okay, so there is more information. Okay, sorry. That was the last piece of artwork in the book. So that's how it ends. The world no longer wants me and doesn't know it. And there's no date. So maybe that was his final painting. Let's look that up, 104. Because then in the back of the book, there's more information on the stuff. So let's see here. 104. Oh, and it says the media, what it's made out of. Okay, here we go. So that last portrait that I showed you, the world no longer wants me and doesn't know it. It is a drawing made with a thick pointed pencil on paper. It measures 640 millimeters by 490 millimeters. It is the only abstract drawing and possibly Pasolini's last. So you see, that was his last. That's what it says here. Sort of like he ended his artistic career. It's in Spanish, but so there is more detail about each painting or each drawing and what it's made of. So I want to see what that one was made of. Because I said it can't be India ink. I'm thinking like a brown watercolor. Let me see if I can find that one. It was one of his auto self-portraits. Okay, it's not that one. It's not that one. It was one that looked like a brown watercolor. It's not that one. Where is it? Okay, let's see. I don't want to... Okay, this one, 92. It was this one that I wanted to know what it was made out of. That's number 92. In the back of the book, it says what it was made of. Okay. 92. Oil y mordiente de nogal. Oak. Mordiente, it's oil and oak residue. Like oil, it was oak bark, I guess. I'm making this up too. But maybe it was like oak bark soaked. He soaked oak bark in something, some liquid. Mordiente is what you use when you're about to dye something. You sometimes have to soak it in a mordiente, and I can't remember what it's called in English. But when you dye something, D-Y-E, a color, So it looks like it was oak bark soaked in mordiente, which I don't know the translation. So a liquid, so that the liquid took the color. Now that makes sense. So that's why I thought it looked kind of like watercolor, but it's a liquidy coloring. And oil, but I don't see the oil unless he mixed the oil in as well. He probably mixed, yeah. Tinta China was 39, India ink. That was number 39. 1 minute. See, this is India ink. Wait, I'll find the paper. 36, 37, 38, 39. Yeah, India ink. It's kind of like black watercolor. And you mix it with water to make it darker or lighter. So, all right. Well, it's over. Thank you, everyone, for joining me today in our artistic investigation into Pier Paolo Pasolini. Bye, everyone.